back to 2017 in retrospect. Now we turn our attention to the judiciary. Take your pick, from the minor saga to the whistleblower to the DSS EFCC clash. This is one sector that has kept many wondering what is the situation, coupled with the how do you say it, the raid on the homes of the judges, and some of them
the hunter becoming the hunted, raid of justices. That was last year, but this year we looked at some of the trials and some of the runs that they had in court,
and some of them being retired compulsorily.
Yeah.
But hey, you have the ball.
Yes, I know. And so to help us to take a look at what the judiciary has been like in the last 365 days, I'm being joined here in our studios by a legal practitioner, Mr. Osahon Ihehe. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
And over in our Abuja studios, I'm joined by the spokesperson of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Wilson Uwajere. Thanks a lot for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
So let me start with you, Mr. Uwajere. I mean, 2017 has gone down as 1 year where the anti-corruption fight of this administration has been criticized, has been reviewed, has been talked about by so many people in different quarters. Let me just ask you what it's been like for you being the spokesperson of this particular agency at this time.
Well, 2017 for us in the EFCC has been a very eventful year, given that we have so many activities that we embarked upon and which impacted on the fight against corruption in Nigeria. Specifically, we embarked on a process of aggressive tracing and recovery of assets. And I'm happy that Nigerians can bear witness to the fact that we achieved a major milestone in this respect. Never in the history
sorry,
of
Mr. Uwajere. Let me
Yeah.
just ask you to hold that thought for a second. Let's just take a quick break. We'll be back to you in a few minutes. Just hold your thoughts for now. Some of our leading lights there in the year 2017. We were reviewing the judiciary and speaking with Wilson Uwajere, who's the EFCC spokesperson. He was just telling us what it's been like heading, or rather being the spokesperson of this commission at a time when so much is going on. Continue, please, with your thoughts.
Yeah. I was just talking about our record in terms of recovery of assets. What happened in 2017 was unprecedented in terms of how aggressively the Commission went out looking at assets stolen by people who had the privilege of serving a position of trust. By the record that we have, we recovered hundreds of billions of naira, and properties and assets were seized all over the country. If you travel in major cities of this country, you find houses marked with EFCC under investigation and all that. It never happened before. And we also have several prominent persons that we investigated and charged to court. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, you have retired generals being arraigned in court on corruption charges. It never happened. There were other issues that came up. In fact, there was never a dull moment throughout the year concerning the fight against corruption. And I believe that we made our mark during the year.
Yes, you did talk about making your mark and all the recoveries that you were able to make. But let me just read out to you an opinion from someone in society about the sort of recoveries that have been made and what happens when you do make those cash hauls. And it says, Nigeria's anti-corruption crusade will not escape internal and international ridicule until the Buhari administration puts in place a comprehensive central management of recovered looted funds, so that we stem the tide of relooting the loot. What do you have to say about that particular opinion, let me say?
It's not strange to me. I know for quite some time now people have expressed concern about the process of record keeping in terms of asset recovery. I must confess that there's a challenge in that area. But having said that, I believe that within the EFCC, for instance, we have been able to streamline the process and procedure in terms of keeping of assets. We currently have a full-fledged directorate in charge of asset management. So our records are quite intact and we have no issues in terms of keeping of records of recovery of assets recovered by the Commission. But that does not stop the government. If government in its own wisdom believes that they need an independent organization to manage assets, it's within the prerogative of government to establish such a body to look at assets. But regarding what is recovered by EFCC and how it's kept and managed, there are no issues about that. I have no record at all about any asset being rerouted by the Commission. Those who make such claim, for instance, have never been able to come forward with evidence of any asset that was rerouted. We have no such case within the EFCC.
Mr. Hare, would you say that, even as Mr. Wujaran has spoken, that the EFCC is on course in its war against corruption?
To a large extent, I think they are on course, but I'm bothered about the fact that some major persons who have been investigated, who in fact monies have been recovered from, indeed the whistleblower has been paid so much money, is it 400 and something million or thereabout, paid to a whistleblower, and the man is not in court. That bothers me.
Why is that so?
For crying out loud, you said a man kept some money in a particular flat somewhere in Ikoyi. There was a whistleblower. That is a crime that has been detected. You recovered the money, and the man is not prosecuted. Come on, what are we doing? What are we doing? That cannot be the way we should go. If a man has been found to have kept so much money there, stolen so much money, and you have paid a whistleblower, and you don't prosecute the man who kept the money there, that is not a CBN.
Okay. Mr. Wujaran, can we ask you to respond to that, if you heard him correctly? Okay, well, what we were actually, he can't respond to it at the moment, but we will try and get his response. But continue with your thoughts.
Yeah, my thoughts are this. See, if you say that somebody has stolen money, like what we found was done by, the NIA boss and the rest of it, and you have, in fact, paid the whistleblower that, oh, this man gave us information that led to the recovery of this much. Why is okay not in court? It boils down to the fact that what we were doing before is what we are still doing. You have the Evanses of this world in court for whatever they've done, kidnapping and all that. You have all the small fries in court. You have all the members of the opposition in court, for stealing money. But when you see that a man who is in government, in fact, you have paid the person who said, look, this man kept this money here, and the man is at home. And also, you recall the issue of Babacha Lawal. That one is being found, is been indicted by the Senate. The Senator Sani as a panel, they indicted him. That man was referred to the vice president, also investigated, and also found him wanting, and the man is not in court. What are we doing?
But you saw what actually happened between the operatives of the DSS and the EFCC when they did try to effect a particular arrest, and all that is still, an issue that is being looked at. How can that happen in a society like ours? What is the legal implication of that? When you're talking about people not being arrested, all right, they had tried to go forth and see what they could do, and look at what happened.
I think all that was were just play acting. Retired military officers, Chief of Army Staff, and the rest of them were arrested, and they've been taken to court. So how difficult can it then be for a former NIA boss, or what do you call him, for him to be arrested? It's difficult. But you arrested military officers. Major generals were arrested and taken to court for the same corruption and stealing. So, come on, what kind of, we're just play acting.
All right, Mr. Wujaran, some of this boils down to what some call the selective anti-corruption fight, which is something I know you've heard a lot of this year, in 2017. Could you respond to what Mr. Sahen has said about certain officers being shielded from arrest, etc.?
Yeah, I don't see any officer being a case of selectiveness or somebody being shielded from arrest in this episode. He talked about the Ikoyi gate saga, we all know that attempt was made by the EFCC to arrest the former Director General of NIA, and our operatives were obstructed, and that is the reason why the man has not been arrested. So it is not the fault of the EFCC that the man is still there and he has not been arrested. People obstructed us from doing our work. The mandate of the commission is to investigate and prosecute every economic and financial crime. For us, we believe that a crime has been committed, and that was the reason the commission obtained both a remand and arrest warrant. The process of executing those arrest and remand warrant was obstructed, and that for us is even a crime. So
what are you doing about that particular obstruction?
Nigerians know the effort that we make, but in respect of the former
Sorry,